Okay, so this is step one for reassembly. Okay. So you basically want to work in reverse order. All right. And the last thing that you took out will be the first thing that goes in, right? So which is going to be the counter shaft. Okay. That's this part here. So put it in like that. And for this part, you don't have to put the bearings on each end just yet. Just kind of let it hang down there for now. Okay? Because you're going to need to put the the main shaft back in. And you need room. So this helps with this main shaft going in. And you kind of want it off the edge a little bit so that the shaft here extends out and you're able to dip it down. Okay. Just like that. Okay. There we go, that's better. Turn it on. Okay. Okay. So now you want to put the input shaft in. Okay. Which is this here. Don't forget the needle bearing that goes on the inside of it. And the synchronizer, it's already in there. Leave it there. And notice, you know, this input shaft only have teeth on the edges, and it's more of a rectangle shape, so you can't go straight in. It won't fit. You're gonna want to go in one corner at a time. Okay, so it's gonna look like this. Try to get close up for you there. Okay, so one corner first. All right, at an angle, tilt it in at a 45 degrees, and then the other side, just like that. And once both sides are in, go ahead and lift up on the main shaft and push in the input shaft. Okay, so now that's in. Now you want to put your bearings in. Okay, you got the bearings down here for the counter shaft, bearings up here for the output shaft. Same thing on the front. Bearings down here for the counter shaft, bearings up here for the input shaft. So let's start with this bottom one down here. Okay, we'll be this bearing here. There'll be this looking one right here with the black seal around the ball bearings there, or actually these are roller bearings. Okay, and there's no specific positioning on these bearings. They can go in either way. Okay, and that goes in there. Now, you can get a brass punch, something like this, and a hammer if you want, and you just kind of want to tap around the side of it so that it goes in. You don't gotta hit it hard, just lightly tap on the bearing. Okay. Don't forget your safety glasses. So, keep tapping away. So that's almost in, as you can see. Almost in there. Okay. Just keep tapping on it. There we go. You know when you're done when the bearing sits flush against the case. You see that? You can touch it with your finger and it feels flat. It's not sticking out. Okay. So that's one side. Now let's go around the front. This is the tail end. Now this is the front end. And we're going to put the bearing down here now, which is going to be this one here. Okay, this one doesn't have the black seal around it. This is another roller type bearing. It goes in here. You kind of want to grab the output a little bit and kind of wiggle it, lift up on that shaft a little bit, and just get it in positioning like this. And then get that brass punch again and just tap it in, just like how you did at the front. And just go light. You don't gotta wail on it, okay? I don't wanna see anybody getting a hammer to this. Just, if you are gonna use a hammer, just tap lightly on it. But don't use the hammer on the bearing. You wanna hit it on the brass instead. Damage the bearing. See? Just kind of work around the edges and it'll start to go in. And pay attention to the rear, because sometimes as you're tapping it at the front, the rear bearing starts to come out. So I just checked, looks good. Boom. Done. You see? Nice and flush. And the back end still looks good. You see? So that's good. No, that one's good. See, it didn't come out. Okay, next step. You want to put in your top bearings. Okay? And for this, I like to start at the rear. Okay, so remember the front bearing. The front bearing race is bigger than the rear. This is for the rear. So the smaller one is at the back. Alright? And these races are tapered inward. So this goes on the inside and this is the outside. Alright? So don't try to force it in backwards. It needs to be this way. Going in. Okay? It goes around this taper roller bearing. Just like that. And you want to give it help by lifting up on the shaft a little bit. And sometimes you can just wiggle it in. You see? I almost got it fully in actually. Take a look from this angle here. Sticking out just a little bit. I want to press it in. Okay? So, let's try that. Get the brass punch again. Just tap on it. There you go. Nice and flush. Okay? So, oh look, you see what happened while I was trying to get that one bearing in? This one almost came out, you see? So, just push it back in. Ah! There we go. Careful with your fingers. Okay? It'll move around a little bit, but that's alright. Alright? Okay, next step, you can get this other race in. The bigger one that goes on the input shaft. Like so. Okay. Just get it into position. Get your brass punch and start tapping on it. Very lightly. It's slowly going in. Always pay attention to the rear. You see this one is starting to come out. So, sometimes it helps if one of your group members can hold the bearings at the rear while another group member will tap this one in at the front so it doesn't pop out at the rear end. See how it's coming out a little. As I work the front, the rear comes out. You see that? You gotta do it again. That's why it's easier with two people. Okay? You want to work as a team. Okay? So let's try this again. Oop, this one's coming out, see? Just tap it back in. Okay, so when you get it close enough, you can put the retainer plate and put a couple bolts in there so it stays put for now. Okay, so, oh, not this one. It's gonna be this piece here. Okay, that's the one with the seal here and that ring here. Okay, sometimes you can put a little bit of grease in here to hold it in place so it doesn't fall out, and then slide it in. that. Okay, these are the 12mm bolts. Put a couple of these in, these ones here. Get the extension. Do it by hand. Don't use any impact guns. Okay? All by hand. Going in. Alright? There we go. We got a couple of those in. See this one was coming out. See that? So we're going to want to push that back in. We're going to use our punch. Okay. We're going to put this retainer in. Remember, make sure the arrow is facing up. Put a few of those bolts in. These are also 12mm, but these are shorter. Okay, make sure you put in the right bolts, not the longer ones. Get your extension out. There goes one. Two. Three. Okay, so that's 5, and then remember that last top left corner bolt, you can't use a socket, you have to use a wrench for that one. So first start it off by hand. Okay, then now you can use a ratchet and start snugging them down. Here's your ratchet. Lefty loosey, righty tighty, right? So we're gonna go right. That's clockwise. And you wanna go in a cross pattern sequence. Okay? Jumping from one bolt to the next, making small incremental turns. You don't wanna like fully tighten one bolt just yet. Just kinda hop around to each one. That way the bearings and the retaining plate sits flush. You don't want to warp it by tightening one bolt completely all the way just yet. Okay, so let's get that top corner bolt with a wrench. Again, it's a 12mm fastener, and you want to use the box end. Okay, so that way you don't round off the corners. Okay, so I would start with that one and snug it down real good. Okay, and when I mean snug, we're talking about just a turn of the wrist. So you'll keep turning the ratchet until it gets tight, until it stops moving, and do one more turn after that. That's it. Very small amount of torque. It's probably around, 10 inch-pounds to 15 inch-pounds. That's it. And again, you want to torque them in a star pattern, almost. Jumping from one bolt to the next. That way it sits flush. Just like that. So now we're gonna torque the bolts at the front. Okay, same thing with this one. You wanna go in a star pattern, okay? These are the longer 12mm bolts. There. 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 Just go in by hand first. that's done. So the next step, I will start at the rear here. We're going to be putting, we're going to start with 5th gear in reverse, and then the idler and all that on the back end here. Okay, so you want to go in reverse order. So let's start with the steel ball that goes into the slot. Okay, remember it goes into 5th gear here, into this sleeve. So here's that steel ball. Goes right into that little slot there. Just like that. Right there. Okay. Now you can put this assembly in. This is 5th gear, and you can probably take this sleeve out and throw this in first. Okay, you see that little notch there? Okay, nice and firm. And then you can put the 2 half moon needle bearings. You can leave them inside the bearing. I mean inside the gear, and it can all go in together. All right, so let's set it down. Okay, just like that. Oop, one fell out. Okay. Just like that. Okay. That's a synchro. Okay. That's 5th gear. And here's the synchro. Okay. So that's the drive gear. Now let's put the driven gear in. This little gear right here goes on top. And this part goes in first. Okay. Just like that. See that? Now, what's next? The hub assembly. Now, this part is a little tricky. Okay. We're gonna put the fork into the sleeve, and the hub, the keys, the spring, all that goes in together. Okay. And this shaft here needs to get inserted into that opening there. Okay? Right there. The shaft needs to go in there, so that way the bolt can go into the slot and lock it in place. That one right there. So I'll show you on the side view so you see what I'm doing. Okay. So remember, for this, if you look closely at this hub here, one side is recessed in, and then the other side is protruding. You see how that sticks out? And also on the sleeve, there's a lip here and not here. So that side, this side goes inward. This is facing outward. Okay, so the fork sits like that. Okay, now it's going in all together. And while it's going in, this lever up here, you want it to go on top of that fork. I don't know if you can see this. Okay, this lever here, that needs to go into this slot there.